open, right? Hi everyone and welcome back to Android Study Jams. This is Aditya and today we'll be completing session 3 of the track. As a reminder, this track is for people with prior programming experience who want to learn how to develop Android apps. Um, there's one more announcement, like try to stick with us till the end of the session because at the end we'll be having a quiz, and based on the number of questions you answer correctly you will be getting points. So you'll be getting points on NIDSC's leaderboard. I'll drop the link at the end of the session. Cool, so let's start. So this session is all about layouts. It's about arranging views on the screen and what layout to use in your app based on the requirements and all. And layouts are the first impression, right? It's about helping the user figure out how to use your app and get the job done. And that's why you'll be learning a lot more about views and resources and how to use them, and how to arrange them on screen using Android Studio's layout editor. So today we'll be building two small toy apps. The first one is an About Me app, which is basically like a portfolio app. I'll be building it for my favorite cartoon character, that is Bart Simpson. Uh, you can choose anything like your family member or your friend or yourself. So I'll just show you how this app looks on my phone. Cool. So you have a name and then a field where the user has to enter the nickname and a button. So suppose if I give it a nickname as Bart itself, um, and then click the done button, both the edit text and the button disappears and there is a text view with your nickname. Then there is an image of yourself or anything you are building this app for, and facts about you. So this text, the facts could be long, right? I mean, it might not fit on the screen of your app, and for that reason, we'll be using a view that is in Android Studio known as scroll view. So scroll view, as the name suggests, is scrollable. So I've like appended this image view and the text inside the scroll view, so both of these would be scrollable. So if I drag across the screen, it scrolls up and down. One more thing to notice is like the name and the nickname does not scroll, and that we'll see how to do that. Um, cool. So the apps that we'll be building today are not fancy, but like the layout is fundamentals to all the apps that you'll be creating in future. So these apps would kind of like help you strengthen your fundamentals. So the second app is inspired by a Dutch artist, Piet Mondrian, who used to make his paintings just by squares and rectangles. So these two are paintings made by Piet Mondrian. The street painting as well is made by just squares and rectangles. So if you zoom in, it's just squares and rectangles. So the second app is all about layouts. It's about how to arrange views on screen and what's all layout to use and all those things. It's also about how your app will look on different devices with different size. So suppose how your app will look on tablets or your phone or suppose smartwatch or anything. So for the second app, we'll be using constraint layout as our parent view group, which is just a second. Cool. So for the second app, we'll be using constraint layout as our parent view group. In the first app, we'll be using linear layout. What all these views are, I'll explain later. But constraint layout is a lot more useful or and efficient and easy to use than linear layout. So we'll also make this app supportable for like landscape view mode. So I'll just show you how this app looks on my phone. Cool. So how this app works, you can tap on any of the box or on the screen itself or on the buttons, and they'll change color accordingly. So if I tap on the box, it changes color, this box or this box, and even the screen, it will just change color. That's it. It's not quite useful, but like it will help you like build strengthen your fundamentals about constraint layout. If I tap on red, yellow, or green, anything, it just changes color. That's it. Also, if I rotate my phone, so all the views are still there, right? The buttons and the boxes are still there, and it still looks nice. So constraint layout is useful in that manner. Cool. So anything you see on the screen of your phone, anything you see on the screen of your Android app, all the elements that are there are all views, and all of them are the children of a parent class view. So the image view, the text view, the view group, the button, all of these are the children of the parent class view. And for this reason, they all share a lot of similarities. Like they all have width or height or background, and you can make all of these views interactive. What this means is, suppose like even if there is a text and the user taps on the text and you want a particular paragraph of code to get executed when the user taps on that text, you can do that. You can even do that with linear layout or relative layout or frame layout, anything. They are all interactive, and they are all the children of the parent class view. So until now we have seen different kind of views like image view and text view and button. There are many more, like scroll view or edit text to get the user input and change text accordingly, or like color picker and and all those things. So today we'll be learning about scroll view and edit text. So in Android, all the views has a couple of coordinates, that is top and left coordinate to specify the location of the view, and a couple of dimensions to specify the height and width of the view. And so the dimension which is used to like specify these are density independent pixel, which stands for DIP or DP. So density independent pixel is an abstract unit which is based on the physical pixel density of the device. What this means is, suppose you have two devices, a phone and a tablet. Um, one of the device has a pixel density of 320 dpi and the other one has 160 dpi. So on your phone, that is whose density is 320 dpi, 1 dp would be equal to 2 pixel, but on your tablet 1 dp would be equal to 1 pixel. So the value of 1 dp changes accordingly depending on the density of the device. So so you can see here, right, the 320 device with 320 dpi, 1 dp would be equal to 1 pixel. On a device with 160 dpi, 1 dp would be equal to just 1 pixel. So we as a developer don't have to worry about how your app will look, or how your app will look on different size devices. It's the density dp takes care for all of those. Cool. So now let's look at view groups. So a view groups is basically a view whose primary purpose is to like nest other view groups inside it. So views which is made to like append other view groups inside is are known as view groups. Linear layout and relative layout and constraint layout are examples of view groups. In our first app, we'll be using linear layout as our parent view group. In the second app, we'll be using relative layout. Sorry, constraint layout. Constraint layout is a lot more efficient than linear layout, but we'll see why later. So in this app, this app shown on the screen, the parent layout is linear layout. We use linear layout whenever you want to arrange your views in a horizontal or vertical fashion. So in this app, the orientation is set to vertical, and that's why all the children of this linear layout are arranged in a vertical manner. So this relative layout and this text view and this text view are all arranged vertically. Inside a view group, you can also append another view group inside a view group. It's You can do that. So here also the first children of the linear layout is also a view group, which is relative layout. So all this red area is the linear layout. Then this orange area is this relative layout, this blue text view and text view. Inside relative layout, there it has two children, that is image view and text view. Cool. So since our first app is a lot more simple, we'll be using linear layout. Cool. So let's start with our app, with our first app. So fire up your Android Studio. Click on File. There will be a drop down menu. OBS for some reason like doesn't capture the drop down menus. So there will be a drop down menu, menu when you click on File. Click on New and then click on New Project. Now there will be a pop-up. I'll just add the pop-up. Wait. Cool. So there is this project template wizard. We'll be selecting empty activity since our app is a lot simpler and we don't need any template. Click next. Let's set the name of our app as About Me and leave the package name as it is. Select a location for the project files to be saved and make sure that the language is selected to Kotlin and not Java. Next, select we'll be using API level 19 for our app. So select API 19 Android 4.4 and click finish. So it will take a couple of minutes to like Gradle to finish the build for us. Cool. So now let's look at the layout editor. Layout editor is a lot more useful in Android when you are using constraint layout. You don't have to write a single line of code and you can do all the layout designing with this layout editor. So there are these three tabs, that is code, split and design, which is like the options to choose between your front end code and a visual representation of your layout. Select code and there will be all the code for your layout. Design, the visual representation of your layout. And split, this is a new feature which is added in newer versions of Android Studio. So there is text code on one side and the layout on the other. Click on design. So this is the layout editor, this whole thing. First there is this palette pane, which consists of all the views that are there in Android Studio. So like suppose you want to use text view, you can just click on the search icon and click search text, and all the searches in the search results there will be text view. You can also browse through these tabs, and you can also just drag and drop a view and drop it to your layout, and Android Studio in the background will generate all the code for you. So here we have added text view, and this code Android Studio has generated for us. Cool. So let's delete it for now. Then there is component tree which shows the view hierarchy of your layout. So when you build more complex app, this component tree is really useful. So we have after that there is this attribute pane. So you can edit all the attributes for a particular view from this attribute pane. So just select text view and there are this attribute. So suppose if I want to edit the text of this text view, I'll just click on this search icon and search text, and there will be this text attribute which is for now set to hello world. If I just change it to anything, it changed. Right now when you go to code, you can see this code Android Studio has generated for us, and it has added a text attribute whose value is set to Android. Cool. So in our app, we'll be using linear layout, right? But Android Studio by default has generated constraint layout. So let's change it. Click on constraint layout, right click, again there will be a pop-up, and there should be an option to convert view. Click on convert view, and there will be all the list of all the layouts in Android Studio. Click linear layout and click apply. Cool. So now it changes from linear layout to, sorry, constraint layout to linear layout. Right now you can see here the default orientation is set to horizontal. But in our app, we'll be setting the orientation to vertical. So let's edit the attribute of orientation for our linear layout. Click on linear layout and then search orientation. There will be an attribute of orientation. Click on this drop down menu and select vertical. Click enter, and cool. Now if you could see here, the orientation is changed to vertical. I'll just show you the code as well. This is the parent view group of our app, and the orientation is set to vertical. Cool. So right now our view is cramped to the top left corner of our screen. Let's center it. Um, Again, click on the search icon and search for layout gravity. Select it, and there is this arrow, click on it, and these are all the options whose value you can set to true or false. Right now they're all set to false. um, Select on center horizontal. What this will do is center your view horizontally depending on the width of your screen. So click on this box, it will set it to true. Sorry, first you will have to select the text view which you want to center horizontally, and then search layout gravity. Click on this arrow and check this box. Now our like view is centered horizontally. I'll just zoom in a bit. Cool. um Now also it's like cramped to the top of our screen. Let's give it some spacing. So in Android there are two ways in which you can give space to your view. um, So the first one is padding and the other one is margin. Padding is used to give space inside the border of your view, and margin is used to give space outside the border of your view. So suppose this is your widget, suppose this is a text view and this is the border of the text view. Now if I add a padding of 16 dp, it will add a space in between the widget and the border. And if I add a margin of 16 dp, it will add a space between the border and the uh, parent border of your view. Cool. So let's add both margin and padding to our view. So just select the view and clear this and search for padding. Select padding, click on this arrow and let's add top padding. Click on padding top and change its value to 16 dp. Sorry, change its value to 16 dp and click enter. Cool. So right now this is the border of the view. This all whole thing is the border of the text view. We have added padding, so it should add a space inside the border, and that's why this space is our padding space. Now let's add. Okay. Now, if you could see here in the component tree, on the left side of our text view, there is a, sorry, on the right side of our text view, there is a warning, yellow warning which Android Studio is giving us, which which means that if I run our right now our app, it will just run fine. But as we had discussed earlier, right, we will follow best practices for our app. So just click on the text view and click on this warning icon. It says that we have used hard coded text. So like the text which we had given here, Android, it's hard coded. So in Android, it's a good practice to just not use hard-coded text, but instead declare a string resource in your strings.xml file. It has a lot more lots of benefits, like it makes your app much more efficient. And suppose in future if you want to make your app global and make it supportable for all the other languages, so like if you want to make your app available in Chinese language as well or French language as well, at that time if you have like declare your strings as a resource, it's a lot easier to like port your app to different language. So what we'll do is just select on the text view, go to your text and click on this oval shape. There's this oval shape, click on it. There will be this pop-up, click on the plus icon, and in the drop down menu select string value. Now in the resource name, I'll just add the window. Cool. So this should be the pop-up. In the resource name, change it to name. I'll just name it name, and its value, let's set it to Bart Simpsons. And since I'll be making this for my favorite cartoon character, that is Bart Simpson. So here select Bart, sorry, input Bart and Simpson, and click OK and again OK. Now if you could see, instead of using hard-coded text here, we are using an address which is like @strings/name. So I'll just show you in the project pane. Click on the res folder and click on the values folder. Here if you could see, there is a XML file which stands for strings.xml. When you open it, there are these resources, and this resource Android Studio has created for us just now, whose name is just name and its value is Bart Simpson. Cool. So let's go back to our Android layout editor, and as you can see here, the yellow warning is gone now. Also, it's a good practice to set ID for all the views that you'll be using, so that we'll uh, it will be easy for us to get a reference to our view in our backend code. So here in the ID, let's name it name text. Click enter. Cool. um as we have created a resource for the name. It's also a good practice to create a resource for the dimensions as well, like the padding dimensions, that is 16 dp, as we had already declared. It's also good practice to, instead of using just the dimension, we create another resource in a in dimensions.xml file and then use it in our app. So here just search for padding, and in the padding where we had padding, set padding top to 16 dp, again click on this oval shaped button and again click on this plus icon, and now instead of string value you should have dimension value. Click on it and set its name to, let's set it to layout padding, okay, or name padding, and its value to 16 dp. Click ok and again ok. Cool. Again, the Android Studio has created this diamonds.xml file. When you open it, there will be a resource that is whose name is name padding and a value of 16 dp. Cool. And now how this will help us, or like creating a resource instead of just writing the dimension. It's like couple of extra steps, right? But like when you'll be building more complex app, um in that case you don't have to like remember what dimension you had used for padding and what dimension you had used for margin. You can just say use the same resource again and again, and your app will look a lot more uniform. Cool. So now let's set margin also to our text view. Okay, I have set the ID to name text. Let's change it and spell error. Name text, click enter, and there should be a pop-up. Click on this refactor. Cool. So now let's add padding to our view. Search for margin, and again expand this layout margin of attribute and go to layout margin top, again click on this oval button, sorry, not oval button, since we have already created a resource for our padding, right? We can use the same resource in our margin as well. So just here input at the rate, and in the drop down, there is a drop down here. In the drop down, the first option should be the resource that you have created. Click on it and click enter. Cool. So now our view has a margin as well as a padding. So this space is padding, this space is margin. um let's change the font of our text view. Search for font, and in font family click on this drop down, scroll down, and then click on more fonts. There should be this pop-up. Search here Roboto. So Android Studio has a lot of pre-built fonts for you to use. So just search for Robo, and there should be a font named Roboto. Click on it and select regular, and in this options just select add font to the project. Instead of create downloadable font, select add font to project and click OK. Cool. What this will do is it will import a font in this font folder, and if you could see, there is this roboto.ttf font added in our project. Now let's change the text size of our text view. Search for text size. Cool. So there is this attribute text size. Click on this drop down menu again, and let's set it to 20 sp. Again, since this is a dimension value, instead of just putting the value, we'll again create a resource and then put it, use it in our text size attribute. So just again click on this oval shape button, click on plus dimension value. Let's name it name text name size, and set its value to 20 sp. Click OK, and what again, like just write at the rate, and there should be name size. Click on it and hit enter. Cool. So now it's looking a lot better. um yeah, so that's it for our first view. um Also, there's one more thing. So there is a feature in Android Studio which helps you to add create a style. So style is basically all the attributes that you have edited for this text view. To we'll be using the same attributes, like same settings for all the other views that you'll be adding in this layout, right? To make our app look a lot more uniform. And so instead of just repeating ourselves again and again, what we can do is extract a style in style.xml, and then apply the same style to all the views that we'll be adding further in our app. So like suppose if we are adding another text view, and instead of again declaring layout gravity and text size and the font family, we can just extract a style with all the attributes that we want and use it again and again. Cool. So to extract the style of this particular view, just select the view from the component tree, right click and click refactor. In the refactor, there should be an option to extract style. Click on extract style, and in this pop-up, let's set its name to name style. Name, and let's uncheck layout width and layout height, because it's good practice to declare width and height of each and every view that you'll be adding in your layout, instead of just using uh, like the same width and height again and again. Let's also uncheck the gravity, margin top, font family, padding top, text size. Let's all keep all these attributes and click OK. When you click OK, there should be a styles.xml in your values folder. When you open it, you can see here this code Android Studio has created for us, whose name is name style, and all these attributes. Now if I go to the code of our layout, instead of declaring the font size, font family, we just use one attribute, that is style, which is equal to name style, and it will add all the four attributes to our code. Cool. So cool. So now let's add another view in our app. That is image view. So in the palette, just search for image view, and there is this image view. Drag it and drop it just under the name text inside the linear layout. Then there'll be this pop-up. So there will be this pop-up. So Android Studio has many images pre-built, comes with many images pre-built. So you can just choose within it, or you can add images to as well in the drawable folder. For the first image, let's just search here star. Sorry, search button. Um, Scroll down, and you should have this image button star big on. Select it and click OK. So this star is added, right? Now to give the padding and margin to this view, instead of like again giving padding and again giving margin, just select this view and search style. Click on style attribute, this drop down menu, and then like enter at the rate, and there'll be this menu which is which is not visible in the OBS, but there is this menu. Select name style from the menu and click enter again. Cool. So now it has a padding and a margin, and we didn't have to write all those things. One more thing, like the style which we have declared, we have also added the font size and font family, right? But there is no font size or a family in an image view. It doesn't have size, right? I mean font size. So you don't have to worry about it. Android Studio adds only those attributes which are related to this particular view. So in the background under the hood, Android Studio has just added uh, padding and margin. That's it. Cool. Um, Now let's add some text to our app. As discussed earlier, we'll be using scroll view to add text. So scroll view can have just one child, and in a lots of scenarios, it's just linear layout. So search here scroll and select scroll view, and just drag it and drop it just below the image view. Cool. Now it has a scroll view. Expand it and linear layout. It has just one layout, so all the views that we want to be inside the scroll view, we will be adding it inside this linear layout, which is itself is inside scroll view. So again, search for text. There is this text view already. Search, sorry, drag it and drop it. Just drop it below the linear layout, and let's set its ID to bio. Enter. Cool. Now let's set its style to name style, which we have already created. So search for style and select and click on the drop down menu. Uh, input at the rate, and then should be a menu with name style. Click on it and click enter. Sorry. Um, Now let's add text to our text view. Um, I have this predefined like text in my I have this predefined text, so I'll just copy and paste it. In the text view, you have to like enter all the facts about yourself. So in the text attribute, the first just select the bio, and in the text attribute, uh, click on this oval button and click on plus string value and set its name to bio text, and its value to the value that I've already sorry, instead of creating this from a wizard, what we'll do is we'll go to strings.xml file, and I'll just copy paste the string that I have. um, so in Android, if you want to like bold a particular part of your code, you use the B tag, and to insert backslash n, you just add and to insert a new line, you add backslash n. Now if I go to my activity main.xml, we'll have to first set the text to the to the string resource that we have created now. So click on this oval button, and in the options there should be bio string resource. Click OK, and it will add the bio. One thing, right now for some reason my layout editor does not render new line characters, so don't worry about this backslash n. When I run this app on my phone, it will have a new line character. Cool. So this text view right now is cramped to the left of our screen, so let's add some padding to the left and right of the text view. So search padding and expand it. Let's add a padding left and padding right. Click on padding right, since we have already created a dimension for our layout um, padding. So click at the rate and click on name padding and click enter. It has now left space of 16 dp. Let's also add a padding right. Again, do the same. Just click on, just input a at the rate and select the first dimension resource. Cool. So now it has left and right padding. So I'll just show you how this app looks on my phone right now. So if I just click run, Gradle build will build the app, create the APK, and then run it on my phone. So Gradle is still running. Let's wait. Cool. So you have your name, star, and some text. Now let's add an image to our view. And also this text is scrollable. So if I like drag my finger across, it's scrollable. Now let's add an image. I have this image of Bart Simpson. So I'll just drag and drop it in the drawable folder. So whenever you want to add an image which is not already there in Android Studio, you have to just drag and drop it to the drawable folder. So cool. So this is the image. And it is there in drawable folder, that is bar.png. Let's add an image view to our linear layout view group. Just click on image view and drag and drop it just below the linear layout and above the text view. Select the image from the pop-up that you want to add to your image view and click OK. Cool. So right now the height of this image view is set to wrap content, which basically expands itself based on the height and width of the original image. Um, Sorry, height of the original image. So let's set it to, let's do 220 dp and click enter. Cool. Now it looks a lot better. So since we have added this image view inside the linear layout, both this image and the text would be scrollable. S- Cool. So now let's add an edit text to get the nickname of the user and a button. Also, before moving on, let's like give an ID to all the views that we have added. This is for this ID. Let's set to Bart image and sorry. And right now, like Android Studio is giving us a warning that the content description is not defined. So in Android, you should always define the content description for all the image view that you add in your app. It helps. It makes your app efficient, and it's also useful that like suppose in some case like your image does not renders, and in that case it will just show the text. So search in the select the image and search your content description. Select it and let's add a string resource for a constant description. Sorry, content description. Click on this plus icon, select a string value and set it to mm, Bart. Let's set it name to Bart image and its resource also to Bart image. Cool. So now the warning is gone. Also, we need to do the same for the star image that we had added. Click on it and again search for content description and let's add another resource. Click on plus icon, string value and set its name to star image and its value as well to star image and click OK. Cool. So now all the warnings are gone. For this linear layout, there is a warning which is beyond the scope of our session and this course. But if you want to discover what this issue is all about, just search on Google and go through the official documentation of Android. It is more than enough to like help you understand it. Cool. So now let's add edit text and a button to our layout. So here search for edit text and the first option is plain text. Select it and drag and drop it just below the name text and above the star image. Cool. Now let's set its ID to nick name edit text. Click enter and click refactor. Let's also add a button. So there is a button already, or you can just search for button. Select the button and drag and drop it just below the image view. Let's give it an ID of, sorry, not below just above the star image and not below it. Let's give it an ID of done button and its value as well to done. Now again we are for text we are using hard coded text which we should not. So again we'll have to create a string resource for our button as well. So click on this oval shaped button plus string value and its name let's set to done button and its value to just done. Click OK. Cool. Now our button has a text of button. Um, for edit text as well, we are using hard-coded string. By default, it has a value of name. Uh, Clear it. By default, we won't give it any text. Let's give it a style which we have already defined. Search for style, select it, and from the drop down menu, sorry, click on input enter @ and select name style. Cool. So now it has a padding and a margin. Now in edit text you could give something known as hint, which like gives tells the user what value you have to enter in this edit text. So search hint, and here also instead of using hard-coded text, we'll again create a string resource. Click on plus icon, string value, and give it a name of hint, and its value, let's set it to what is your nickname. Click enter, and again. Cool. So now it has an edit text with a hint, what is your nickname? Oh, and until now we have followed all the good practice. In the edit text, we again have a warning, which is for autofill. Uh, Again, the autofill feature is beyond the scope of this session as this course. If you want to learn more about it, just search on Google. Cool. So now let's change the width of the done button. It's right now it's set to match parent. Set it to wrap content, and let's give it a style of name style which we have already like created. Click on style attribute @ and name style. Click enter. Um, right now there is a padding of 16 dp. That's why it's not looking good. Let's remove the padding. Search for padding. When you expand the padding, there should be a top padding of 16 dp. Remove it. Let's set it to 0 dp. Cool. Now it looks better. And also padding bottom. Let's center our button horizontally. Search for layout gravity and expand it and check the center horizontal attribute. Set it to true. Cool. Now let's style our done button a bit. So there are some style predefined in Android Studio. So click on this drop down menu. Instead of using name style, we'll use one of the style that's already there in Android Studio. Search for something like widget, app compact, button, borderless, colored. Select it and hit enter. Um, cool. So now if I like switch to dark mode, what? Sorry, I've selected the borderless one. You have to select. You have to just select the widget, app compact, button, color. That's it. Also, like with the uh, introduction of dark theme in Android, you don't have to make separate apps for light themed Android and dark themed Android. You can just um, Android Studio automatically detects the theme and changes its color accordingly. Like right now, our text color is set to white, but when I switch to the light mode, it's set to black. Let's switch to black, and let's give add IDs to this button and edit text. We have already done that, right? Cool. So that's it for the front end part. Okay, one more thing. Like to display the nickname and the done button, we have to add a text view to our app which displays the nickname. So again, select text view, drag and drop it just below the done button and set its ID to nickname text refactor. Sorry. Um, let's just give it the same style. Style name style. Click enter and center horizontally, layout gravity search, and set the center horizontal attribute to true. Cool. Let's now set the layout width to wrap content instead of match parent. Click enter. Um, and we'll also remove the predefined text attributes value to empty. Instead, I have to show you one thing. Select the text view and search for text and set its value to anything for now. Cool. So when the app starts, there should be just the edit text and the button, right? And no text view. It should be invisible. So there is a attribute as well for text view, that is visibility. So search, click on search icon and search for visibility. Select visibility, and from the drop down menu you have three options: visible, invisible and gone. So if you select invisible, it will like make the text view invisible, but it will take the space. So right now this text view is taking this space, right? If you set it to invisible, the space would still be there. uh, gone is same as invisible, but one major change is, like, if you select gone, the view won't occupy any space. So I'll just show you selecting both. If you set to invisible, sorry, I have set it to for linear layout. Select nickname text and then select visibility, and from the drop down menu, if I set invisible, the view won't be visible, but it is still taking the space. For our app, we don't want that. We want the text view to also not occupy space when it is set to invisible. So select gone, and what it does is it also makes the view invisible as well as gone, like it's not taking any space. um cool. Later in our code, when the user clicks on the done button, we'll make both of these edit text and done button invisible. So go to, now we are done with the front end part of our app, and now we'll write the backend. Go to main activity.kt. First we'll start with getting the reference to all the required views that we need to set on click listener or change its value or its visibility. So the first one is, we'll start with late init, and uh, let's name this variable as, first let's start with edit text. So edit text, and sorry, I forgot the var keyword, and edit text, and let's set its value to text view, sorry, edit text. Click enter. So the semicolon is optional, but like I have this habit of giving semicolon, so I'll be doing that. The next variable is for the button. Button whose type is button as well. um, the other one we'll need is the nickname uh, text view, and set its value to type to text view. um cool. So now let's actually get a reference to all of these views. So we'll be using again the find view by id function, which is there is Android Studio. So do edit text equals to find view by id r dot id dot um what was the edit, the id was nickname edit text, and now we'll do the same for the button and the edit text, sorry, button and the nickname. So I'll just copy this and paste this twice, and change this to button, and change its id to done button. Um, this will be nickname, and its ID will set to sorry, nickname text. Cool. So now we have a reference to the required views in our main activity.kt file. Um, Now let's set an on-click listener. So whenever the user inputs the name and clicks on the button, both the edit text and the button should disappear, but instead there should be a text view. So type button and dot set on click listeners. So as we have already discussed, right, to use a lambda function or to like pass another function to a function, we use curly braces instead of brackets. So let's do here we'll have to pass a function to our on click listener. So we'll do button clicked. Cool. So now we'll have to define this function. So let's make a function which is private and whose name is button clicked, and I forgot the fun keyword. Cool. So what should happen when the user clicks on the done button? We should first change the text of our text view to the nickname that user has given as the input. So what we'll do is we'll set the nickname text nickname dot text equals to sorry e- equals to edit text dot text. So what it'll do is it'll get the text user has inputted with edit text dot text, and then pass it to nickname, which will set which will set the value of the attribute text to the text received. Um, Cool. What should be the next thing that should happen? Both the text view and the buttons, sorry, both the edit text and the button should disappear, and instead there should be the a text view with the nickname. So what we'll do is first we'll set the visibility of edit text and button to invisible. So to do that, we'll do edit text dot visibility, sorry, edit text dot visibility equals to view. We'll use a view class dot invisible. We'll set it to sorry, not invisible, gone, since we don't want our layout to occupy that space still. So we'll select gone and semicolon. It's optional. Also, we'll do this with the done button dot visibility equals view dot invisible. Sorry, not invisible again. Gone. Sorry. Um, and we'll need to change the visibility of the text view to visible. So we'll do nickname text nickname dot visibility equals to view dot visible. Cool. So that's it. First, we started with declaring three variables to store the reference to our views. Then we got the reference to our views using findViewById method, and then we set an on-click listener to the button by passing a function that we have defined as button clicked. Now, whenever the user clicks on the button, this function will get executed, and so we do nickname.text is equal to, then first we get the text from the edit text, set the attribute of nicknames text.text to the text received, and set the visibility of edit text to gone and also the visibility of button to gone. And we set the visibility of nickname to visible. Cool. So I'll just show you app. This is it for the first app. Cool. So now if I click on the edit text and give it a like give it a nickname, let's give it Bart and click enter. Sorry, click on the done button. Cool. So now you have name, your nickname, and image view. And when you scroll through these, it scrolls. That's it for the first app. Let's now move on to our second app. Cool. So for the second layout, second app, we'll be using constraint layout. So a formal definition for constraint layout is a connection or alignment to another UI element, to the parent layout or to an invisible guideline. So there are a lot of benefits for using constraint layout. Um, you can make it responsive to screens and resolutions. So you don't have to worry about if all the views that you have added to your layout would be visible across all the different sized devices. Um, it has a flatter view hierarchy. So I'll just wait. This tree which we had in for which we had created for this app, by using when we are using linear layout, we have this is the tree, right? But with constraint layout, it's a lot flatter. What this means is, suppose we are using linear layout and we want to get we want to use the find view by id method, right? In that case, the Android Studio will have to search through this tree. And when you make more complex app, searching through this tree might make your app like slower. And that's why in constraint layout, it's a flat view hierarchy, and that's why it's a lot more efficient. It's optimized for laying out its views, and it's free from, which means is like wherever you drag and drop it in your screen, that would the view would appear at that exact position in your app. Cool. So let's head back to our Android Studio and click on File. Wait a minute. Cool. So again, click on File, New, New Project, and click on Empty Activity. Next, let's change its name to Color My View. And its package name, let it as it is. Oh, okay, one more thing which I forgot to mention, like it's a good practice to start the name of your app with a capital letter instead of small letter. So right now, if I start with small letter here, if you could see, Android Studio is giving us a warning that application name for most apps begin with an uppercase letter. I mean, you could still go ahead with small case letter, but it's a good practice to give the name of your app with capital letter. So select Kotlin as the default language, and again we'll be using Android API 11.19 as well. Click finish. Cool. So it will take a couple of minutes for Gradle to finish the build process. Cool, it's done. Um, let's go to linear layout editor. Also, layout editor is a lot more useful when we are using constraint layout. Because like I'll just show you. Suppose if I add a text view to my constraint layout and add constraints, I'll just explain what constraints are. Like I'll just add constraint, and now if I go to the code, you could see it has these attributes: constraint bottom to bottom of, left to left. It's a lot more complex, right? And writing this in code, I mean, I can do it. If you can, I mean, you are great. um for that reason we'll be using layout editor. So what is constraint? Think of it as a connection between two views, either by children and children, or children and parent, or yeah. So there are three types of constraint in Android Studio. If I just select this text view, the first one is a straight line, which is fixed constraint. So that constraint is normally used when like you have to give margins to your view. So suppose if here, okay, so when you select the text view and constraint view, you have this constraint widget, which is there to help you with adding constraints and all. Instead of dragging and dropping again, you can also edit it from this constraint widget wizard. So suppose if I give this a bottom margin of suppose 50 dp. Cool. So now this straight line, this is the fixed constraint. The straight line represents fixed constraint. I'll just zoom in. This straight line represents fixed constraint. And so now if you drag your view across, you can drag it anywhere. But if you drag it below the margin, like it won't work. If I like try to add it here, it won't work. So this is a straight fixed line. You can't like drag your view across it. um cool. The second type of constraint layout is wrap content, and the third one is match constraint. So the more match constraint you use in your app, the more it will be supportable for like other other devices with different resolution. Um, cool. So let's start with the first text view. Drag it to the top of the screen, top left corner of the screen. Um, Now let's add a margin of 16 dp to the left and the top of our view. So search here padding, sorry, yeah, margin, and again, instead of just like giving it a margin value, we'll again create a resource and store the dimension in that resource. Sorry. So select the layout margin top and click on this oval shape button, click on plus dimension value, and let's set its name to um, layout margin, and its value to 16 dp as well. Okay, cool. So now it has a top margin of 16 dp. Let's also give it a left margin. Select left margin, and since we have already created a resource, we don't have to write write the value again. Just select layout margin and click enter. Cool. So now our app has a left and top margin. Now I have this predefined style. I'll just copy it and go to the rest folder, in values folder, right click, click new, and select values resource file. um, Give it a name of, oh sorry, we won't do this with from wizard, we'll do it from code itself. So create new value resource file, give it a name of style dot xml, click enter. Now you have a file named style.xml. um I just paste it. um Cool. I'll have to like declare a dimension value for box text size, and we'll also have to import the Roboto font. Go to activity main.xml, design, select your text view, search for font, and from the font family, click on the drop down menu, scroll down, click on more fonts, and search for Roboto. Select Roboto, and select regular and click OK. Cool. So now we have a font. Like what it'll do is it'll import the font, and this red error is gone for our font family attribute. Now we'll need to create a dimension whose name is box text size. So let's just copy this, or box text size, right? Go to dimensions, um, create a new dimension for the text size, and set its name to box text size and set its value to 20 sp. Sorry. Cool. Now all the errors are gone. Now let's set the style of our text view to the style that we have created. Search for style and select style, the oval button, and select white box. Click OK. Cool. Um, Now um, click on the bottom right corner of your view and expand it. Expand it till the like the it is approximately of the width of the parent screen. Um, Click on the text view and go to the constraint widget. Give it a left and right margin of 16 dp as well. So I'll just put 16, and it has a right and left margin of 16 dp. Now from layout width, instead of using 382 dp, that is the width of my view in my case, just click on this drop down menu and set it to match constraint, and set its sorry. Cool. So now my app has my layout has a left and right margin. So what was the point of setting its value to match constraint and not wrap content? What this does is it expands the view until there is a left margin of 16 dp and there is a right margin of 16 dp. So if I like rotate my screen, switch from portrait to landscape, see, the view expands according to this width of the screen. And cool. So we are done with our first text view. Also change its ID to box text 1 and set its text to box 1. So click on this oval button and create a new resource with its name as box 1 and its value to box 1 as well. Let's do capital letter. Cool. Now let's add other box. Again, search text view, drag and drop it, and place it on screen. Um, these four dots are there to set the constraints for your view. So click on this dot and drag it to the bottom dot of box 1, and select the left dot and drag it to the left of your screen. What this will do is it will add a left constraint and top constraint, left to the left of your parent screen and top to the bottom of box 1. Also, if you want to add all the views, and you want to like add 16 dp margin, like add a margin to all the views that you'll be adding in future, in that case what you could do is, there is this feature, just select it, which is now right now set to 0 dp, and set it to 16. What is this will do is, all the future views that you'll be adding, it will have a, a margin of 16 dp predefined. Cool. So for our next text view, search for margin and set its value to 16 dp, left margin to 16 dp, and top margin to 16 dp. um, cool. So now apply the same style that we had added. So search for style and at the rate and select white, sorry, at the rate and select white box as your style. Cool. Now again let's add, let's set its text to box 2. So since we are doing this again and again, let me go to strings.xml and let's define all these strings already. So I'll just copy this string and paste it 3 times. Since we'll be creating 5 box, um, cool. Now set the name, or let's set the name of each of these. This will be box 2, whose value will be box 2. This will be 3, and its value will be 3. Nice. Let's set its text to the box 2 string resource. So from the pop-up, just select box 2 and click OK. Let's change its width. This should be fine. Cool. So now let's add other 3 box that we'll be using. So drag and drop 3 text views and set its ID, each of those IDs to, this will be box 2 text, and this will be box 3 text. I'll just copy and paste code. Um, so I'll just copy this and set this one's ID to the same. However, let's just change the 2 to 3. Same thing with the third view. And cool. So now we'll have to add constraints for each 3 of these text views. So select the first text view and drag its top at, no. So there is a feature in constraint layout that is chain, which is basically used to give like equal spacing around the views. So just select these 3 views using control, press control and then select these 3 views, right click, and from the pop-up select refactor, sorry, go to chains and select create vertical chain. This will do is create a vertical chain between the top constraint of the top view and the bottom constraint of the bottom view, and like arrange them having equal space, so all these spaces are equal. But since we want to arrange these 3 text views to the height of box 2, select the first text view and change its top constraint to the top of box 2, and select the bottom text view and set its bottom constraint to the bottom of box 2. Cool. Now let's add left constraint to all three of these text view, and also a right constraint. Just change the style of all three these text views that we have to the style that we have already created. So I'll just copy the style and paste it for every text view, each text view. Cool. So now it's looking a lot better. We'll have to set this text. We have already created the string resources for all of these boxes. So this one is the box 3. This one is box 4, um, and box 5. Cool. Um, Also set the width of each of this text view to match constraint. So what this will again do is the width of the box will change according to the space remaining, the space of the width of the device. Change its width also to match constraint, and box 5's width also to match constraint. Um, Now let's add a margin to all of these three text views, a top and bottom margin. So for the first one, let's add a bottom margin of 16 dp. For the third text view, also add a bottom margin of 16 dp. Sorry, not bottom margin, set it to 0, and the top margin to 16 dp. For box 4 as well, for box 4 we'll add both bottom and top margin. um, for box 3, remove the top margin so that it's aligned with the top of box 2. Increase it to maybe 24. Cool. So that's it for our cool. We are halfway through our app. Just I'll show you how this app looks when you switch to horizontal. Uh, Sorry, port landscape view. So again, this box width expand according to the width of the screen, and it's looking really good right now. Cool. So now let's add button to our view. Um, just drag and drop three buttons and set its ID to, just a second. Set its ID to first one to button red, second one to button yellow, and the third one to button green. Now select all of these three buttons, and now instead of like adding a vertical chain, we'll add a horizontal chain. So select all three of this button and right click, and from chains select create horizontal chain. Cool. Now, the top of, okay, that's it. Let's change the text of all of these three buttons. Click the oval button, click plus string value, and the first one is button red, right? So it is button red, and its value is red. Okay, and again, okay. Um, for the second one, we'll do the same. Set its value to yellow, and third one is green. Cool. So right now it's not looking good. We'll have to like center it horizontally. So what we'll do is select red button, right click, and click show baseline. So what it'll do is it will show a line to the bottom of the text, like aligned with the bottom part of the text. Select it and drag and drop it to the baseline of yellow button, and do the same for the green button. Click so baseline and drag and drop it to the bottom of the yellow button. Now click on yellow button and the top dot, constrain the top dot to the bottom of box 2, and the bottom of the button to the bottom of the screen. Now just drag this chain and cool. So now we are done. So I'll just show you how this app looks in landscape orientation. So all of the views are visible, the button, the red, yellow. Also, I'll show you how this app looks on different devices. So suppose if I use Nexus 6, it's still good, the same, and for all the app, it changes according to the width and height of the device. So we had Pixel 3a selected. Um, Cool. So that's it for the front end part. Now let's go to the back end part. So go to mainActivity.kt. I have this the since we are running out of time, I'll just copy and paste the mainActivity.kt file and explain it what it is doing. Cool. So there are this red. First, we'll have to import these classes. So click Alt Enter and click Import. We'll do the same for color import and text view also. Alt enter and import constraint layout. Okay, one more thing I forgot, like whenever using constraint layout, you should also always give an id to your constraint layout as well. We didn't have to do this for linear layout, but with constraint layout we'll have to do it. So I'll just give it an id of constraint layout. And one more thing, since we are making the view group interactive as well, that's why like when the user clicks on the screen, it should also change its color. So let's go to mainActivity.kt. I'll have to change the id of the first one. It's not box one box text one, it's box one text. Import the button class and three colors. Go to colors.xml and just paste the three colors, and now there should be no error in our mainActivity.kt file. So I'll just explain the mainActivity.kt file. So first we start with the onCreate methods, which influence the layout. In our case, it's constraint layout. And then we set listeners. So in our case, we have a lot of views to which we have to set listeners, right? So instead of creating separate methods for all of these views, what we'll do is we'll just create a set listeners method whose purpose is to set listener to all of these methods. So we just do one function call, that is set listeners. That's it. And now we have defined the set listener function here. It starts with getting a reference to all the text views, and then we create a list of all the views. And again, now we run a for loop which sets the like which sets the on click listener to each of these views. So it, as we have already discussed, stands for iterator. So what this code will do is it will take one item at a time each from the clickable views list that we have created, and call make colored function on it. So what make colored does is, depending on the view click, it changes the color of the view. Cool. So this is it for our second app. I'll just run the app and show it on my phone how it looks. The Gradle build is still running. We'll just wait. Cool. So if this is the app, we click on box one, it changes color. Box two, box three, box four, anything. Even if I have tapped on the screen, it changes its color. When you click on buttons, it also changes its color. Cool. So that's it for our third session. Um, I'll just drop the quiz link. Just a second. I'll just drop the quiz link in the chat box. It will be open just for 5 minutes. So just answer it, and based on the number of questions you answer correctly, you'll be getting leaderboard points. Sorry. This is the link. I'll just Cool. So it will be open just for 5 minutes, and we'll be ending the session. In case you guys have any doubts, I'll just wait a couple of minutes. Cool. So bye, guys.